Good day, students. Welcome back. This is Dr. Mercado. Welcome to Accounting 1304, Introduction to Accounting 2. And in this lecture, we are going to be continuing a brand new chapter, Chapter 12. Chapter 12 deals with special journals. Okay, so the problem that we are going to be tackling today is quite lengthy once again. So I usually tend to select those more complex problems to go over with you, which will also be on your exam. This is problem 12-12A. Now let's look at the problem. A friendly reminder, like I do every week, please make sure that you read the entire chapter before you begin working on the assignments. If not, you are going to be completely lost. So reading should occur first, then you begin working on your assignments. If I were a student, what I would do is first I would read the chapter, review the PowerPoints, take the quiz because the quiz is terminology based. Get that out of the way and then begin working on your homework. Okay, because if homework is more lengthy, you can save your work, resume it. So that's the order that I would tackle my weekly assignments on. Now, this is the problem. The problem deals with purchases journal, cash payments journal, and the general journal. So we've already been exposed to the general journal because we've been working on the general journal since Introduction to Accounting 1. So now in this particular chapter, we're introduced to a wide variety of extra special journals that we're going to be using. But in this specific problem, we're going to be tackling the purchases journal and the cash payments journal. Okay, so we have Helena Hadid owns a small retail business called Helena's Toy Story. The cash account has a beginning balance of $20,000 effective July the 1st. The following transactions occurred during July. So we have a whole bunch of transactions that happened. Okay, we are required to record the transactions in the purchases journal, the cash payments journal, and the general journal. So we have to identify and classify in which journal does each of the transactions belong. Once we're done with all of the transactions, we have to total and rule the purchases and cash payments journals and prove the cash payments journal. And then once we're done with that, we're going to post from the journals to the ledger and the accounts payable subsidiary ledger accounts. We're going to use general ledger account numbers as shown in the chapter. Now, I've already done a lot of work, setting up the different journals that we're going to be using. We're going to be needing a purchases journal. We're going to be using a cash payments journal. We're going to be using a general journal. We're going to be posting to our general ledgers, and I've already created the general ledgers for all of the accounts that we're going to be using. We're going to be creating our accounts payable subsidiary ledgers, so I have that available as well. Okay, so I've done the setup for all of the accounts. You are working on Cengage, so all of this will be provided to you. You basically just have to fill in the information. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a quick summary of key information in the chapter. Of course, I'm not going to go through the entire chapter because then, as it is, the lectures are quite lengthy. So I'm just going to touch up on a couple of things here and there. It is your responsibility to read the entire chapter. So this chapter deals with special journals. So a special journal is a journal designed for recording only certain kinds of transactions. So we group our transactions based on what is happening in the transaction. Okay. And a special journal can be created for almost any kind of transaction, and it depends on the business needs. Okay, the types of journals and business uses should depend on the types of transactions that occur most frequently in a business. So if you have a transaction that is happening every day, 10 times a day, then maybe you consider creating a special journal for that transaction to facilitate the data entry of the information. Okay. The primary purpose of using special journals is to save time journalizing and posting transactions. Okay. In a general journal, we record transactions by writing the account names, debit and credit amounts, and explanations for each transaction on several lines in the journal. In contrast, most transactions are entered in a special journal on a single line item. Okay, so what special journals do, they basically just simplify the collection of the information that is similar, and then the transfer of that information into our books is just easier because everything is combined. And depending on the type of journal that you're using, some of those transactions are recorded daily, others are accumulated and recorded at the end of the month. Okay, so it just depends. Okay. Now, I've worked in maquiladoras before, in Reynosa. I have worked a great deal in the banking industry, and I personally have not ever used special journals. Okay, the only journal that we've used or that I've been exposed to using is the general journal. Okay, but there are maybe some companies out there that do use these special journals, so it's important for us to be aware and be familiar with how they are prepared. Okay, so I guess it just depends on the industry and it depends the type of business. This obviously facilitates, and you're going to see how it's going to facilitate the process of entering the information into the journal and then eventually into the ledger. Okay, it just streamlines the processes. Okay, so figure 12.1 gives you a list of the most top common type of journals and types of transactions that are recorded in each of those journals. So we have the sales journal, and in that journal we record all sales of merchandise on account. That is the key, on account. Cash receipts journal is all of the cash receipts, okay, all the money that you received. Purchases journal is all purchases of merchandise on account. The key here is for purchases and for sales journals, we are only accounting for those sales or purchases made on account. A cash payments journal is all cash payments received. Okay, and then the general journal is any other transaction that does not fit into any of the other special journals. Okay, so if it doesn't apply to any of the journals, then we put it in the general journal. Okay, so the textbook has a wealth of information, examples, step by steps on how to do stuff. They give you illustrations, figures on how to transfer the information from the different journals. For example, this is the cash payment journal. How to transfer the information from the cash payment journal to your specific ledger accounts. Okay, so make sure that you review all of this information. It's in your ebook before you begin working on the problem. Okay, so let's begin tackling the problem because it is a little bit lengthy and I am going to go a little bit quickly on it. Okay, so let's begin. On July the 1st, you issued check number 414 in payment of the July rent, $1,500. So we have to figure out, where do we put those $1,500? Is it a purchase or is it a cash payment? Okay, because those are the only two. Well, we have the purchases, the cash payment, or the general journal. Okay, so if it does not fall under purchases or it does not fall under cash payments, then we're going to put it under general journal. Okay, so the first question you ask yourself is, did I make a purchase? Yes or no? Did I make a cash payment? Yes or no? Okay, so here we are making a cash payment for the rent. So if we are making a cash payment, then that transaction is going to go under my cash payments journal. It just makes sense. Okay, so when did this happen? This happened on July the 1st. We paid with check number 414 and we are paying the rent. So this is a rent expense, is the account that is going to be debited for this transaction. Now the post-reference columns, we leave them blank. The post-reference columns are filled in when we transfer this information into the ledgers. Okay, now we need to figure out the rent expense. Is it a regular general debit account? Is it accounts payable, purchases, discounts, credit, or cash? Okay, so rent expense falls under general. It does not fall under any of the other categories, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it there for $1,500. Okay, so we are paying the rent with the rent expense account. How do you pay your rent? Okay, we pay our rent with cash. So cash would need to be credited $1,500. Okay, so my general account will be debited, and whenever we use the general, we've identified the account that we're using. We're using rent expense. So rent expense gets debited, cash gets credited. So you see we have the both transactions, both the debit and the credit, on the same line item. Okay, so that happened on the 1st. On the 1st, you purchased merchandise on account from Tangy's Toys, invoice number 311, $2,700, terms 210, net 30. So in this case, we are making a purchase on account. So remember, if you are making a purchase, okay, purchases journal, all purchases of merchandise on account are recorded there. Okay, so we are going to use the purchases journal. Okay, this is happening on July the 1st, and we have invoice number 311. Okay, who are we purchasing from? We're purchasing from Tang's Toys. Okay, Post reference is left blank. And how much are we purchasing? $2,700. Okay. So that takes care. And let me mark them off as, because if not I get confused. So I've already taken care of that one. And then I've already taken care of that one. Okay. That way I know that I'm on July the 3rd. Okay. On July the 3rd, you purchase more merchandise on account, this time from CS and Company. Invoice number 812-3100, terms 110, net 30. So we're making another purchase on account. If you make a purchase on account, it goes on my purchases journal. This is happening on July the 3rd. Okay. This is invoice number 812. This is coming from CS and Company. CS and Company. And we made a purchase of $3,100. Okay. And make sure that you go in date order. Okay. On the 5th. Okay. On the 5th, we return merchandise purchased from Tang's Toys, receiving a credit memo on the amount owed. Now, on the purchases journal, the only thing you record are purchases on account. That is it, purchases. Not returns, just purchases. Okay. On my cash payments, we record any payments made with cash. By us doing having a return does not mean here we have return merchandise. Return merchandise does not affect cash payments because this purchase was originally made on account, so there is no cash to be refunded. We're going to give them a credit. So if it doesn't apply to purchases journal or cash payments journal, we're going to record the transaction in our general journal. Okay, this is happening on July the 5th. Okay, so what's going to happen? We're going to offset it against our accounts payable for Tang's Toys. Okay, and the amount is $500. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to credit purchases, returns, and allowances for $500. And here we have returned merchandise. So that July 5th entry is going to go under my general journal. Okay, for Tang's Toys. We've done that one. On the 8th, on July the 8th, we purchased more merchandise on account, this time from Daisy Dolls, invoice number 139, $1,900, terms 210, net 30. So on July the 8th, we have another purchase on account, July 8th. This is invoice number 139, and this is for Daisy's Dolls. And the amount of the purchase is $1,900. Okay. So that happened on the 8th. On the 11th, we issued a check number 415, to Tang's Toys for merchandise purchase on account, less the return of July 5th and less a 2% discount. So now we're going to make a payment. We are going to pay what we owe to Tang's Toys. Okay. So if we make a payment, that is going to be under cash payment because we're making a payment. Okay. So this is happening on July the 11th. And we're paying with check number 415, okay, to Tang's Toys. Okay. Now, how much do we owe for Tang's Toys? Okay. So we had made a purchase of $2,700. Okay. According to the purchases journal, we purchased $2,700. Okay. And then there was a return. If we look at our journal, we have a return of $500. So we have $2,700 minus $500. So we owe Tang's Toys $2,200. That is how much we owe Tang's Toys. Okay. So we're going to go over here and we're on my accounts payable. I'm going to clear it for the $2,200, which we calculated by getting the purchases minus the return. So we had a purchase of $2,700 minus the return of $500. That gives me a balance of $2,200. Now the problem says that there is a discount of 2%, I believe. Let me go back and see. Yes, a 2% discount. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to calculate that discount. So the $2,200 times a 2% discount. That's going to give me a $44 purchases discount credit. Okay, so the discount is going to go under the $44 for purchases discounts. Okay, so now if we owed $2,200 and we got a discount of $44, that means the actual cash I am going to pay is $2,156, and that will be your credit to cash. Okay, so as you can see, instead of having debits, credits, all of that good stuff, all of the line item gives you what you need to enter. We're going to debit accounts payable for $2,200. We're going to credit purchases discounts for $44, and we're going to credit cash for $2,156. Okay, everything is outlined in the journal. So that happened on the 11th. Okay. On the 13th, we issued check number 416 to CS and Company for merchandise purchase on account less a 1% discount. So now we're paying our balance to CS. So if you see here from the purchases journal, CS purchased $3,100, and we have a discount of 1% for CS. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's record that cash payment because now we are paying CS. This is happening on July the 13th. We're paying them with check number 416. Who are we paying? CS and Company. Okay. How much are we paying? Well, my accounts payable balance, let's go check out how much it is. For CS, my accounts payable is $3,100. That is how much I owe CS and Company. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to my cash payments journal, and I'm going to clear my accounts payable with a debit of $3,100. Okay. Now we have a 1% discount, so we're going to get the $3,100 times the 1% discount. My discount will be $31, so we're going to put that under purchases discount of $31. And now we're going to get the amount that we owed, $3,100, minus my discount of $31. That means I'm going to end up paying cash $3,069. Okay? So that is my July 13th transaction. So we've done that one. July 15th, okay? We returned merchandise purchased from Daisy's Dolls, receiving a credit memo on the amount owed, $400. So we have another return. And remember, we already had one return. Where do we put it? The returns go under your general journal, okay? So we're going to have another return. This is happening on July the 15th. We're going to have a debit to my accounts payable for Daisy's Dolls. Okay. We're going to go ahead and we're going to credit my purchases, returns, and allowances. Okay. And this is for return merchandise. So according to the problem, we are returning $400 of merchandise. So we're going to debit accounts payable and we're going to credit my purchases, returns, and allowances. Okay. So that takes care of my July 15th transaction. Okay. On the 18th, we issued check number 417 to Daisy's Dolls for merchandise purchase on account, less the return, less a 2% discount. So we're making a payment with check number 417. Remember, all of your payments go on your cash payments journal. So this is happening on the I think the 18th. Let me go back and see. Yes, on the 18th. Okay. So this is happening on July the 18th with check number 417 to Daisy's Dolls. So now we need to figure out how much money we owe Daisy. Well, if we look at our purchases journal, we had purchased $1,900 from Daisy. Look at the Daisy's Dolls. We're looking here. Okay. So we had purchased $1,900 from Daisy's Dolls. Okay. And then if we look at our general journal, there was a return of $400. So that means that we owe Daisy's Dolls $1,500. Okay. So we're going to clear the accounts payable for the balance due of $1,500. Okay. And then the problem says that we have a discount of 2%. So we're going to go ahead and account for the discount. So we have 1,500 times 2%. That will give me a $30 discount. So the discount goes under purchases discounts. Okay. And then the difference, so we're going to get the 1,500 that we owe less the $30 discount. That means we're going to pay 1,470 in cash. So that happened on the 18th. On the 25th, you purchase more merchandise on account from Allied Business invoice number 489. So we are buying more merchandise on account. If we are buying merchandise on account, we use the purchases journal. This is happening on July the 25th. This is invoice number 489. The name of the company is Allied Business and the amount of the purchase is $24.50. Okay, let me unhighlight this. Okay, so we've recorded the transaction for the 25th. On the 26th, you purchase more merchandise on account, this time from Tank's Toys. Invoice number 375, terms 210, net 30. Remember, the terms 210, net 30 mean that you're going to get a 2% discount if you pay within 10 days. If not, the balance is due within 30 days. Okay, so this is happening on the 26th. This is invoice number 375. The company is Tank's Toys. Okay, and how much was the amount? The amount is 1980. Okay, so let's enter the 1980 here. Okay. So we've taken care of the July 26th entry. On the 29th, you purchase more merchandise on account from CS and Company, invoice number 883, amount 3,460, terms 110, net 30. Okay, so this is happening on the 29th. So we made a purchase on account. That way it's going to go on the purchases journal. So this is on July the 29th. Okay, invoice number 883, CS and Company, and the amount was $34.60. Okay, and we're almost done with the journal entries. Okay, on the 31st, Helena Hadid withdrew cash for personal use, $2,000, and we issued her check number 418. So we are making a payment to one of the business owners, to Helena Hadid. So in that case, we are not making a purchase, but we are making a cash payment. We are giving the owner money. Okay, so what are we going to do? This is happening on the 31st. Check number 418. The account that's going to be affected is JH Drawing, okay, just for short. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use the drawing account. Okay, and because it does not apply to accounts payables, purchases, discount, or cash, we're going to put it under general. And they made a withdrawal of $2,000. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to debit my drawing account, and we're going to credit my cash account of $2,000. So we have the debit to the drawing and the credit to cash for the $2,000. Okay, so that takes care of the transaction for July 31st, the first one. We have one more transaction. So we issued check number 419 to Glisten Distributors for the cash purchase of merchandise. Okay, now this one's a little bit tricky because they are making a purchase, but the key here is that the purchase is with cash. Okay, so under my purchases journal, the only thing I account for are purchases on account. If the purchase was made with cash, then it does not go under my purchases journal. Rather, it will go into my cash payments journal because I paid cash for those goods. Okay, so this happened on July the 31st. We issued check number 419. Okay, and this is for a purchase. So we're not going to put anything there because we actually have a category for purchases. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to debit my purchases account for $975. And how did I make that purchase? The problem says that it was with cash. So then cash will be credited $975. So what's going to happen? Purchases will be debited, cash will be credited for the $975. Okay? So be very careful with these types of transactions. Yes, they are purchases, but not because they're purchases means they go under purchases journal. The only thing that goes under the purchases journal are your purchases on account. If you paid cash for your purchase, then you're going to put it under the cash payment journal because you had to use cash to pay for the goods. Okay? So that is what is going on. Do we have anything else? That is it. Those are all of the transactions that we have to record on our journals. Okay. Let me go ahead and mark this one. Okay. So now let's read the instructions. Record the transactions in the purchases journal, cash payments journal, and general journal. Done. We've already done that. Now they're telling us to total and rule the purchases and cash payments journal. Prove the cash payments journal. Okay, so now we have to basically balance them out. Okay, so let's get a total for my purchases. Okay, so I came up with purchases on account totaling to $15,590. Okay, so I've already tallied it up, and that is a total that I get. Now let's look at my cash payments journal. Okay, so let's look at our cash payments journal, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get a total. By column, a total by column. Okay, so we've got $3,500 under general, $6,800 under accounts payable, $975 under purchases, $105 under purchases discounts, and $11,170 under cash. Okay, so let me delete this. No fill. Okay, now let's prove that we are in balance. We're going to get the debit total, and we're going to be looking at the totals right here. Okay, so my debit total, this is a debit. If you look at the top, debit, debit, and debit. These are 3 debits, and then we have 2 credits. Okay, so pay attention there. So we have 3 columns that are debits. So we're going to have our general has a balance of general has a balance of $3,500. Okay, and then we have accounts payable has a balance of $6,800. And then we have purchases has a debit of $975. Okay, so we're going to add those 3. So we're going to add those 3 numbers. My debits, I'm going to add my debits, and it gives me $11,275. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the credit totals. Okay, this is my debit total. And now we're going to do the credit total. Okay, now for my credit total, I only have 2. We have purchases discounts of $105. And cash. Okay, cash, we have a credit of $11,170. Okay, so we add those 2 together. That gives me $11,275. So you see my debits equal my credits, so we are in balance. So that would just facilitate the data entry of these transactions, because we know we're going to debit rent expense, we're going to credit cash. We're going to debit accounts payable for Tank's Toys, we're going to credit cash. We're going to debit CS Company accounts payable for $3,100, we're going to credit cash. Okay, so it just organizes all of the information, and that way we can keep track of how we are spending our money. Where is our money going? All of these are my cash payments. Okay, so we've added, or we footed our purchases journal. We've calculated the ending balance of our cash payments by category, and we identified that we were in balance. Okay. Now for your general journal, there's not much that we need to do. Remember, we have to have a debit and a credit. They should always balance. Okay. So now that we've done all that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to transfer the information from the journals to the ledgers. Okay. So let's start off with cash. Okay. Let's start off with cash. Now cash had a beginning balance. Okay. Okay, so cash had a beginning balance of, let me center this. So if we look at the problem, on the second sentence, it says the cash had a balance of $20,000. Okay, so my beginning balance for cash is $20,000 debit. Remember, cash is an asset account with a normal balance of a debit. Okay. Okay. Then we are going to go and we're going to look at our cash payments journal. Okay. We're going to look at our cash payments journal and we're going to see where we spend our cash. So I'm going to be focused on this column right here, my cash column. Okay. How much did I spend in cash? I spent $11,170 in cash. I'm going to pick up the total, the $11,170. Okay. So you pick up your total. And we are posting this transaction at the end of the month. Okay. I'm going to put, where am I getting this information? From the cash payment journal number 9. So if you look at your cash payment journal, oh, I forgot to put the page number up here, but it should say page 9. Okay. So all of your journals have a journal page number, and I forgot to enter those. My purchases journal should be purchases journal page 7. So every journal should have a page number. So we've got purchases journal page 7, cash payments journal page 9, and general journal we have page 3. Good thing I caught it because we're going to be needing those numbers as we transfer the information over to our ledgers. Okay. So where did I get that information? From my cash payment journal 9. Okay. Okay. How much is the entry for? And we're picking up the total. And if you look at your cash payment journal, okay, it's a credit. Cash gets credited for $11,170. Okay, so it'll be a credit of $11,170. This is the money that we spent. Okay, so we had $20,000 in the bank, and we spent $11,170. That means that we have an ending cash balance of $88.30 debit. And remember, we put it on the debit column because the balance is positive. Okay, your balance for cash should always be on the debit column. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my journal, okay, over here, and I'm going to say that I posted this transaction. Okay, I posted that specific transaction on account number 101. So the $11,170 was posted to account 101, and that account 101 is my cash account right here. Okay, that is where I'm picking up my number. Okay, so it's cash 101. Okay, so we are done with cash. Okay, now we're going to move on to your accounts payable. Okay, so for your accounts payable, we have, okay, two things posted here. We have one on the 5th, one on the 15th. Okay, so let's bring those two in first. Okay, so we have July the 5th. This is coming from regular journal number 3, and we have a debit of $500. Okay, so my balance will be $500. Now, I'm picking up this entry right here. Okay. Now we have another entry to my accounts payable for $400 on July the 15th. Okay. This is also on Journal 3, and I've got a debit of $400. So now what are we going to do? We're going to add the two together. I've got a debit of $500 plus a debit of $400. My ending balance will be $900 debit. Okay. So we've posted both of those transactions. Okay. Now we're going to go to our purchases journal. Okay. And remember, these are all of my purchases on account. So we debit purchases and we credit accounts payable. Okay. Accounts payable credit is accounts payable will be credited. So we have a total of $15,590. So that's a credit to your accounts payable. So we're going to get the grand total for the month, $15,590. Okay. And we're going to go to your accounts payable ledger. We're going to go and put July 31st, the end of the month. This is coming from purchases journal number 7. Okay. And we have a credit of $15,590. Okay. So I had a debit balance of $900, and now I have a credit of $15,590. So $15,590 minus $900 will now give me a credit balance of $14,690. Okay. Remember, accounts payable is a liability. The normal balance should always be a credit. The first two are debits because they're returns. Okay, but whenever we purchase on account, the balance should be on the credit side. Okay. Okay, so that takes care of that one. My accounts payable is account number 202. So I'm going to go back to my purchases journal, and I'm going to say that I posted this on account number 202. Okay, that is where I posted it. Okay, so then we go back, and now we have one more entry to record under my accounts payable. Okay, let's go look at your cash payments journal. Now we're looking at accounts payable debit. Okay, so let's look at our accounts payable debit. We have a total of $6,800. Okay, this is coming from your cash payment journal, page number 9. So for my accounts payable debit, I've got $6,800. So we're going to go back to my journal. I'm sorry, for my ledger. This is happening at the end of the month. This is on cash payment journal number 9. And we have a debit of $6,800. Okay. So we had a $14,690 credit, and then some payments were made of $6,800. So now the balance due is $7,890. Okay. Credit. So we still owe $7,890 on account. Okay. $7,890. So we're going to go to my cash payments journal, and I recorded my $6,800 onto it's account number 202. Where did I pick up that 202? That 202 is coming from right there. Okay, from your accounts payable ledger number. Okay. So now we're going to go and we're going to locate anything that affected the drawing account. Okay. So for the drawing account, we had one transaction. If you recall correctly, we have one transaction for the drawing account. This transaction right here, okay, the drawing account, okay, $2,000, okay. So we're going to go ahead and for the drawing, we have a debit, okay. We're going to be focusing on the debit part of it because the credit is to cash. So for the drawing, we're going to be focusing on the debit of $2,000. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to your drawing. This happened on July the 31st. Cash payment journal number 9. Okay, we have a debit of $2,000. My balance is a debit of $2,000. And there was only one transaction posted. for the drawing account. Okay, so we're going to go back to my cash payments journal, and we're going to post that transaction for the drawing to account number 312. Where did we post it? We posted it to account 312, and that 312 is your general ledger number down here. Okay, so we only have one drawing account. We've already tackled that drawing account. Now we go to purchases. Okay, how much purchases do we have? Well, let's go look at your purchases journal. Okay, so we have purchases on account totaling to $15,590. Okay, so $15,590, purchases gets debited, accounts payable get credited. So right now we're recording the purchases section, so purchases will be debited. Okay, so let's go to our purchases account. Okay, this is happening July the 31st at the end of the month. Purchases journal number 7. We have a debit of $15,590. Okay. So we're going to go over to our purchases journal, and we're going to say, well, we posted it on account number 202 and on account number 501. No, I didn't want to do that. So 202 dash, I guess it doesn't allow me to. Let me see. Okay, so let's put it in parentheses, that way we know. So this particular amount is posted to two different accounts. We posted to account number 202 and account 501. So the $15,590, the debit goes to purchases, the credit goes to accounts payable. So therefore it's hitting two of our accounts. Okay, so that takes care of that $15,590. Now we're going to look at our cash payment journal, and we have a column for purchases right here. Okay, so for purchases, we have a total of $975, and we have a debit to purchases. Now remember, this purchase was made with cash. So the purchases on your purchases journal are your purchases on account. If you make a cash purchase, then that will go under your cash payments journal. And we had one cash purchase of $975. So we're going to go to your ledger for purchases. This is happening on July the 31st. This is your cash payment journal number 9. And we have a debit of $975. Because they're both debits, we're going to go ahead and get the $15,590 plus the $975. That'll give me an ending balance of $16,565. Okay, so let me start highlighting the ending balances. So those are my ending balances on each of my accounts. Okay, so now that I've recorded that here, I'm going to go back to my journal over here, my cash payments journal, and I posted those $975. I posted it on my account number 501. Okay. Okay, so we've done purchases. Now we're going to go on to purchases, returns, and allowances. Okay. So for those purchases, return, and allowances, we have them under the general journal. We have 2 on your general journal. Okay, so we're going to transfer those 2 entries over to my purchases, returns, and allowances. The first one happened on July the 5th. Okay, journal number 3, and we had a credit of $500, so my balance will be $500. On July the 15th, journal number 3, I had a credit of $400. So 500 plus 400 will give me a credit of 900. Okay. So now these are my purchases, returns, and allowances, and my account number is 501.1. Okay. So I'm going to go over here, and I am going to do 501.1, And I forgot to enter the account number for the other ones. Let us not forget. For my accounts payable is account number 202. Right here should be 202. Remember, your post reference should always be filled in for all of your accounts. Okay, where did you post them? That tells you the ledger number where you posted them to. Okay. Okay, so we did the purchase returns and allowance. Now we're going to do the purchase discounts. Okay, for the purchase discounts, those appear under your cash payments. Okay. So we have a total of $105 for your purchases discounts. These are the discounts for paying within the allotted time period, basically paying very quickly. They are incentivizing you to make a quick payment of what is owed, and then a discount is being provided. So we have purchases discounts of $105. Okay, this is coming from Cash Payment Journal on page number 9. Okay. So, purchase discounts, we post these at the end of the month. Cash Payment Journal number 9. We have a credit of 105 and a credit of 105. Okay, so my purchases discounts is account number 501.2. So I'm going to go back over to my Cash Payments Journal, and I posted this one on 5.1.2. Okay. Let me just put it in parentheses. So these numbers basically show where did you post that information. What accounts did you post them to? Okay. So cash got posted to account 101. Okay. Purchase discounts, account 501.2, purchase debit, account 501, accounts payable, account 202, and then the rest are identified by the account number. The drawing was posted to account number 312, and we are still pending that one entry for the rent. Okay, that will be our last and final entry. So we've already identified those. Okay, so then last but not least, we've got our rent payment. Okay. Remember, we made a cash payment for a rent. So let's look at that. So now we have the general account, and the account I'm going to be using is the rent expense. Okay, so we have rent expense for $1,500. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to put that back into our general ledger. This is happening on July the 1st. Cash Payment Journal number 9. And we have a $1,500 debit to my rent expense. So my balance will be $1,500. Okay. Now that I've done this, I'm going to go back to my Cash Payment Journal. And I'm going to say that I posted that $1,500 into account number 521. Okay, so these are my two entries under the general. Both of them have been posted. All of my accounts payable was posted to account 202. Purchases debited was accounted for in account number 501 for $975. Purchases discounts was recorded in account number 501.2 for $105. And then your cash account was credited $11,170 to account number 101. Okay, so everything has been recorded. So this is my completed general ledgers with the ending balances for each account. Okay, make sure that your balance is on the normal balance of the account. Don't make the mistake in putting it on the other side, because the system will count it incorrect. Okay, so now that we did that, the last and final step is to create an accounts payable ledger. Okay, so that way we can figure out, remember, your accounts payable, that is going to be the focus. Okay, let's look at this. Our accounts payable is going to be our focus for our accounts payable ledger. So as of today, July the 31st, I owe $7,890. Okay, but do we know who we owe the money to? No, we have no idea. Based on this information, we have no idea who we owe the money to. So management wants to know who we owe the money to. So we're going to create our accounts payable ledger, okay? And we're going to figure out who we owe those $7,890, okay? So let's go back and let's transfer the information from our purchases journal. Okay, so we're going to go in order. So the purchases journal is for, and we are doing it for, we have to go in order. If you see, it's ordered in alphabetical order, A, D, S, and T. Okay, so we're going to go and locate anything for Allied Business. Okay, so we have Allied Business. We have one transaction right there for Allied Business for $24.50. Okay, this is coming from Purchases Journal 7. Okay. So when did this happen? This happened on July the 25th. Purchases Journal number 7. And we have a credit of $24.50. So my balance is $24.50. Okay. Allied Business did not make any returns. So that's all they have. The $24.50 right there. Okay. Now we're going to go and look for Daisy's Dolls. Okay. So for Daisy's Dolls, we have $1,900. Okay. So we have Daisy's Dolls. So this is happening is July the 8th. Okay. So July the 8th, we have Purchases Journal number 7. And we have a credit of $1,900. Okay. And then there was a return for Daisy's Dolls. Okay. Okay. There was a return for $400. Okay. So we need to take into account that $400 return. So we are doing the accounts payable ledger. So we need to locate anything that affected my accounts payable for Daisy's Dolls. So on the 15th, I've got that debit of $400. Okay. July 15th. This is happening on regular journal number 3. And we have a debit of $400 for the return. So that means that I'm going to have a balance of $1,500. Okay. Now we're going to go to my cash payment journals. Okay. Did we make any payments for Daisy's Dolls? Here we have Daisy's Dolls. Okay. Daisy's Dolls. And yes. Okay. Accounts payable. We're going to be looking right here. Daisy's Dolls, my accounts payable is for $1,500. We're going to debit your accounts payable for $1,500. So let's go ahead and let's go back to my general accounts payable ledger. And we're going to do on July the 18th. Cash payment journal number 9. $1,500. So my ending balance is 0. Okay. We don't owe any money to Daisy's Dolls as of the end of July. They've been cleared. Okay. So now we're going to look at CS. Okay. So let's go back and let's look at CS. We have 2 entries for CS. One for $3,100 and one for $3,460. Okay. We have 2 entries for CS. Okay. So let's go in order on July the 3rd. Okay. We have $3,100. This is coming from Purchases Journal number 7. And we have a credit of $3,100. Okay. Now, if you recall, we have that done. And then we have, for CS, on the 13th, we have a payment that was made. Okay. So we're going to look at our accounts payable for CS. That's the $3,100 right there. So we made a payment on the 13th. Okay. So on July the 13th, using the cash payment journal number 9, we have a debit of $3,100. So at that point, my balance is 0. Okay. And then if we go back to my purchases journal, on July the 29th, there's another purchase from CS for $3,460. So we're going to put that over. That happened on July the 29th. This is coming from Purchases Journal number 7. And we have a credit of $34.60. So now we show that we owe an ending balance of $3,460 for CS and Company. Okay. Now last but not least, we've got tanks. Okay. So for tanks, we have one entry on July the 1st, and we have another entry on July the 26th. Okay. But we also have to remember that we have to put them in order. So we have July the 1st, July 26th, and let's look this way. Okay. So do we have anything for tanks? Yes, we do right here. Okay. We have an entry for tanks. Okay. For $2,200 debit to accounts payable. Okay. And then we have an entry to tanks over here for the return of $500. Okay, so we have 4 things that are affecting tank. Okay, so you just have to locate everything that affects tank. So let's put them in order. With July the 1st, we have Purchases Journal number 7. We have a credit of $2,700. So my balance is $2,700. Where did I pick that up from? I picked that up from here, from Tanks Toys, $2,700. Okay. So now I'm going to go to the next one. The next one happened on July the 5th. This is coming from General Journal number 3, and we have a debit of $500. So we're going to put it over here in our General Journal. Okay, and we're dealing with Tanks Toys, and we're going to use a debit of $500 there. Okay, so we have a debit of $500. So $2,700 minus $500 will give me an ending balance of $2,200. So we owe at this point in time $2,200. So let's go locate anything else we have. So on the 11th, okay, we have Tanks Toys, and we are making a payment for the balance that is owed. So if we look here at the $2,200, that is how much accounts payable was debited. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do July 11th. Cash Payment Journal number 9. And the amount is we've got a debit. Let me see. Let me go back and see what did we have. So yes, a debit of $2,200. Okay. So many numbers. Okay. $2,200. So we used to owe $2,200, but now we made a payment of $2,200. So at this point, my balance is 0. Okay. And then I'm going to go back, and I am going to, we have one more thing that we need to record, which is Tanks Toys, that purchase of $1,980 on July the 26th. Okay. Okay. So here we have Purchases Journal number 7, and we have a credit of $1,980. So that is my ending balance, $1,980. So that is my ending balance. Okay, so now, did we do it right? So the total of all of these items under your accounts payable ledger should equal to that $7,890. So let's see if we did it correct. I've got $2,450 from Allied Business. I've got 0 from Daisy's. I've got $34.60 from CS and Company, and I've got $1,980 from Tanks Toys. My total is $7,890, which is the number on your accounts payable ledger. Okay, so when your boss asks you, okay, I see that we owe $7,890. Who do we owe money to? And then you'll prepare a schedule with the different vendors that we owe money to. That way we can be able to identify, who we owe money, when did we make the purchase, by when do we need to pay, all of that good stuff. Okay. So that is all of the requirements. We were asked to journalize, which we did, post from the journals to the ledger, which we did, and prepare an accounts payable ledger, which we've also done. Okay, so we have your purchases journal. Just to recap, these are all of your purchases on account. Okay. Cash payments journal is any entry that affects cash. If you purchase something or paid something with cash, it needs to go under your cash payments journal. Okay. So this is the accounts payment cash payments journal. The general journal is the standard journal, where if it does not belong in the purchases journal or cash payments journal, you post it under your general journal. Okay, these are all of the entries that don't fit into any of the other special journals. Okay, once we prepared all of the journal entries, we transferred the information into the ledgers using the summarized information by month. Okay, and then we prepared the accounts payable ledger to figure out and identify who we owe money to. The balance from my accounts payable ledger should tie to your accounts payable general ledger. Okay, so the problem is lengthy. There's a lot of information being included. Please make sure that you do read it carefully, that you go in date order. That way you don't miss any entries, because if not, it's going to throw you off. Please make sure that you read the chapter. Great information is provided, great resources, examples, step-by-step illustrations. Please make sure that you read before you attempt anything. If you have any questions as you're completing your assignment, please do not hesitate to contact me Monday through Friday. I'm available. If you need to see me, please schedule an appointment with me during my scheduled office hours, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. Okay, so that is it for problem 12-12A, which deals with purchases journal, cash payments journal, and the general journal. Okay, until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day.